Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Timwe Presents. Today we're looking at a puzzle that is called Meta, but it's not a meta puzzle. It doesn't use feeder answers from previous puzzles like a normal meta puzzle would. It's just called Meta because it uses other puzzles or deals with other puzzles. So this is what the puzzle looks like. As you can see, it is quite colorful. However, I want to point out that somebody who hasn't used KTANE manuals in the past will see something more like this. This is what it looks like in my Chrome browser, which is a browser I don't use all that much, so I haven't visited many of these pages. But if you click on, for example, let's say the U here in Mums, it takes me to the Zoni page, and then if I go back, you will notice that it has now turned white. So all of the colors of all of these links are visited colors, meaning you have to visit all of these links in order to see all of the colors. Right, but we don't need to do that. We can just look at the HTML source code, which looks like this. And in each case, we have, of course, the link to a manual, in this case, for example, mathematics, surrounded by a span tag, which has a certain class. And we can see from the CSS declaration that there are 4 of these classes: R for red, B for blue, K for black, and N for this sort of whitish color that we just seen. So in preparation for this video, I've already created the full list of these. So for example here, the F in Fun with Numbers links to the actual puzzle Fun with Numbers. Let me show you that. Here we go. Whereas the remaining letters in each line link to some KTANE manuals. It's always the first letter that links to some other puzzle. In this case, it's a puzzle from Galactic Puzzle Hunt 2018. Let me just quickly click that, and this is what the puzzle looks like. But we don't really need to look at all of those puzzles. So what do we do? The first step in this puzzle is to realize what these colors are from, because there are exactly 4 different colors. And there is one KTANE module that uses those exact colors in the manual. Not on the module, but in the manual. Pause the video here if you want to take a guess. And the answer is codenames. If we look at the manual for codenames, we find that down here it has these arrangements of those 4 colors, where the letter N stands for neutral, and R, B, K are of course red, blue, and black. Alright, but for now, that is all that the colors are. They're just a reference to this manual. Another thing that we can find in this manual is a list of categories. And it just so happens that there are exactly 15 of them. Let's see how many of these lines there are. It turns out that is also exactly 15. So that stands to reason that we want to associate each of the codenames categories with one of these puzzles. But we notice that these puzzles are not given to us in alphabetical order, so it is probably this order that we want to maintain, and it is the order of the categories in the codenames manual that we need to change. So let's begin. I'm going to take a list of these categories and I'm going to put them up here. And in fact, I'm going to create a separate file and we can associate these with the categories. All right. So I want to maintain the order of these. So we're going to put the codenames categories on the right. Okay. So which one of these has something to do with cold? Well, Special Snowflake contains the word snowflake, so I'm gonna say it's that. The Royal Mums Hospital, obviously, hospitals deal with medicine. And medicine exists to heal the body. So that should be body. Fun with Numbers sounds like it deals with mathematics, so let's put that there. What deals with food? Well, the pantry is, of course, something that contains food, and none of the other things have anything to do with food. Maritime. What does maritime relate to? Bearing in mind. Well, bearing is something, the bearing is something that you need in navigation on the sea, but also the bearing in mind puzzle itself, here, it doesn't actually tell you on the puzzle page itself, but if you've solved it, you will know that it deals with the maritime flags module. So let's put that there. Puzzles. Now we have 2 things here that contain the word puzzle. So puzzles will be one of those 2. But let's move on to the next one, language. Which one of these could have anything to do with language? Well, it turns out that the poet obviously uses language a lot, and that uses up this one. So now we have only this one left for the puzzles category. Diffusal. Well, during diffusal you might take notes. Right, out of the ones that we're left, I think that is the only one that fits. Video games, of course, include pixel art. Melodies deal with music. A country club deals with sports. Running for office is what you do in politics. And tree rings, of course, deal with plants. Alright, that leaves duck and stalemate, and it leaves history and tabletop. I was a little bit confused by this, so I wouldn't fault you for being confused as well. Duck is a puzzle which, if you look at the puzzle, it deals with card games, so it has these sort of graphics of cards. But stalemate deals with chess, and it uses chess pieces. So both of them seem to relate to tabletop. But it turns out that duck is the intended one, and if you look at the bottom text on stalemate, it references, for example, Cleopatra, James Douglas, Henry VII, and these are all historical figures. So that's where history goes. And now we have our association of puzzles with categories. What do we do with these? Well, we still haven't made use of these lists of modules, which are of course extensive, so maybe we need to reduce that list to a slightly shorter list. And we also haven't made use of the colors yet. Well, let's take a look at one of the shorter lines. Let's go back to the right. A duck only has 3 links to other manuals. The exclamation point is not a separate link. The K and the exclamation point are a single link, and of course the D is the link to the duck puzzle itself. So we have only 3 to deal with. So we look at where this is. It's right here. We have co-op harmony sequence, label priorities. Oh, point of order. I wonder what that relates to. Well, point of order, of course, is also a module that deals with card games. So that also fits into the tabletop category, right? So maybe point of order is something we want to associate here with the tabletop category. So I'm going to go through all of these and find the right modules, or find what modules sort of belong to the categories. So the first one here, fun with numbers, deals with math. Well, obviously a lot of KTANE modules deal with mathematics, but in this list, mathematics and Greek calculus are the ones that stick out. Right? Mathematics almost has mathematics almost has mathematics in its name, and Greek calculus obviously has calculus in the name. So let's grab those two. Okay, and let's put that up here. The next one is special snowflake, or rather the cold category, and this contains snowflakes and ice cream. Both of those are things that are cold. Everything else doesn't have anything to do with coldness. So let's put that here. I think I'm going to do this. This was math. Okay, next is the Royal Mums Hospital. Let's see which of these deal with something on the body. None of these. The heart is certainly in the body, and the stair is a module that has an eye on it. In fact, even the manual itself here has an eye right here in the SVG, and it even refers to eyes with a capital E. Alright, so that's definitely what we want for the Mums Hospital. And then pixel art or video games contains, well, gamepad is very closely related to video games, and Street Fighter is of course an actual video game. So let's put that there. The pantry obviously has to deal with food. Now Boozle Talk, not really. Hogwarts, not really. Loop Over, not really. And just numbers, not really. So lunchtime seems to be the only one here. Now, this is one place where I got stuck while solving this, because I assumed up until this point that there would always be 2 in each category. But it turns out that some of the categories have only 1 matching module, and this is one of them. Note-taking, or diffusal rather, well, bomb diffusal almost has it in the name, so we're gonna stick with that. And micromodules is a module that deals with modules on a module, so it's kind of like bomb diffusal on a bomb. So those are the two. And then for music, the music categories, well, guitar chords is 100% music. And let's see what else. None of these. Meter. Now, meter could be seen to deal a bit with lyrics in music. But if we look at the meter manual, we will quickly see that this is actually referring to meter in poetry. Now, granted, lyrics are a form of poetry, so it's still the same meaning of meter. But the meter module itself doesn't deal with music. So we can skip that. And the only other module listed here that deals with music is rhythms. Okay. Now, country club deals with sports. Out of these, right, I mean, dominoes, not really a sport. XO1 refers to darts, and that is seen by some people as a sport. So that's certainly something that fits. For running for office, or rather the politics category, now there is one here that is a bit of, you might not expect tax returns to deal with politics. It deals more like with finances. But since the taxes are levied by the government and the government is a part of politics, that's the logic here. Alliances, of course, is something dealing very closely with politics. So those are the two for that. Next we have bearing in mind, so we have the category maritime. And of course battleships are something maritime. And of course maritime flags would be another very suitable one, but it's not in the list. So we end up with only battleship here. And then we have the mad poet category, which is language. Simon Speaks deals with languages, so we're going to keep that in. And then we have, let's see what else. Alphabet is definitely a languagey concept. Alright, so we put those two here. The duck puzzle, as I already mentioned, deals with tabletop card games, so point of order is the one that's relevant here. Then we have history. Which one of these deals with history? Well, Roman art is really the only one that's, that sticks out as being particularly relevant to history. Puzzles. Now, in a sense, you could argue every KTANE module is a bit of a puzzle, but there are two listed here which are based on the kind of puzzles that you might find in newspapers or on websites. One of them is Kudo Sudoku, which is of course based on Sudoku. And the other one is cryptography, which is of course based on cryptograms. So those are the two that we want for the puzzles category. And then finally for the plants category, we have flower patch and plant identification, which are some very clear hits. Alright, so this is the entire list, and I'm going to put that here in a separate tab, and I'm quickly going to restore my original file that I had here using undo. I really should have taken a copy of the contents. I do apologize for that. Alright, here's that. And now I'm going to get rid of the categories and the puzzle names, because at this point we don't need those anymore. And once we've done that, we will find out that the number of entries that we've found is exactly 25. And let's also look at the colors that all of these letters have. If we count them, count the number of N's, for example, you will notice there's 1, 2, 3, this one doesn't count because that's the letter N, not the color N. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 N's, and if you count them, there will also be 8 reds, 8 blues, and 1 black. Now, where have we seen that before? 8 of 3 different colors and 1 black. Well, we've seen it in code names. So this is where this comes in. Each one of these cards has exactly 8 blue, 8 reds, 8 neutrals, and 1 black. So that seems to suggest that we want to look at one of these. But which one could it be? This is where the flavor text comes in. Well, actually, the flavor text already came in earlier by using the word categorize to hint that we want to look at the categories in the codenames manual. But now the fact that it says puzzles puzzle really hammers home the point that we're dealing with the puzzles category in the next step, even though we've already used the puzzle category because we've used all of the categories. But the puzzles category especially gives us one of these arrangements. So what we have to do is we have to distribute the letters that we have here in the second column according to, let me remove that exclamation point, according to the colors here, but in the order in which they appear here. So let's do that. The first one is a B, which is blue, so we want the first blue, which would be snowflakes. We start with that. Then we have a red, a blue, and a neutral, so we take the first red, the first blue, and the first neutral. So at each point we take the first of that color out of the remaining entries. I'm going to get rid of that there. Right, next we want a single blue and then a neutral. So we take the blue first and then a neutral, and then two more blues, and that would be these two. And now you can see that it already forms the word solution. The next two are a neutral and then a red, so we actually want these two. So it says solution is something. Then we have red, red, neutral, blue, blue. So let's take one red and, oops, that wasn't a red. Here we have two reds. And then we needed a neutral and then two blues. Pass is certainly a word, so that we seem to be on the right track here. Then we want another blue, neutral, and two reds. Blue, neutral, and two reds. And then we want two neutrals and the black. Two neutrals and the black, and finally two reds and a neutral, so they're already in the correct order. And if we write that out, we find pass, book, microns. Right, so let's put that into our answer checker here, pass, book, microns, and that is indeed the correct answer. Alright, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Today we've solved the meta, well, not the meta puzzle, but the puzzle called meta from the KTANE puzzle Plethora. Now, I was told that the next puzzle after this will be an actual meta, so this is the last puzzle that doesn't use any of the previous puzzles. So I invite you to take a look at the rest of the puzzle Plethora, and to take a crack at all of the other puzzles and collect all of the answers, and then I will see you next time when we tackle the first meta puzzle on the KTANE puzzle Plethora, here at TimWe Presents.